Law review, taking care of your elderly parents. Even as adults, many people still rely on their parents to give them solid advice and help them when times are tough. So when the tables turn and adult children need to step in to take care of their elderly parents, it's often very difficult for everyone involved. Today, Lexington attorney Gina Ghioldi is here to help with that transition by explaining what can legally be done now to make the future a lot easier. Gina, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
I tell you, I'm kind of in that predicament, and it's
a lot of
we were
people
talking
are.
about this earlier. It's strange, you know, your parents are your parents, and then when you're our age, then you become kind of like in the adult role, and the roles are reversed. So, you know, how do you begin? Where do you begin? How do you do it?
Well, the best time to begin is actually when your parents still have all their mental facilities and are in good health, because that's the time that you can sit down and explain to them by executing certain documents, namely a healthcare proxy and a power of attorney. They actually can maintain control long-term over their future by giving you or whoever it is that they feel comfortable with the authority to make decisions for them if and when they can't. It's the best way of making sure that their wishes get carried out.
But, you know, how do you convince them? I mean, if they're...
It's tough.
I know my mom's a little stubborn.
You know, it is. It's very tough, and I think, unfortunately, the scare tactic may be the way that you have to do it. And to mention what happens if, in fact, these documents aren't put into place. Let's talk about the healthcare proxy first. That's the document that actually gives somebody else the authority to make healthcare decisions, and this is only if the person, the patient, actually cannot do it in any way. So it's not like somebody can step in and make decisions health-wise for their parent as long as their parent is competent. So that's one of the things that you really need to look for. And another is with regards, of course, to finances and to legal matters. You can choose someone to be your attorney in fact. That's not a lawyer. That can be a family member or a close friend or somebody you really trust to step in and to manage your finances or to help you with your finances, whether you are incompetent or maybe even if you're not, if you draft it correctly.
What if you don't have a healthcare proxy?
Well, if you don't have a healthcare proxy, the family members can gather around and try to make decisions, and the doctors and the healthcare facilities may or may not follow that directive. You have to remember, it's a very litigious society, and so the healthcare providers are afraid, quite frankly, of being sued. And so they've got to make sure that they look to the right person with the right directive. If, in fact, there isn't somebody who's named, they may have to go to the court and have the judge make a decision as to who would step in the shoes of the patient and make those decisions. That's with regards to health care, those topics that are very difficult, like life support systems and life extension kinds of procedures.
You don't want that to happen. They will lose control at that point.
Well, they would lose control, but you can put in that healthcare proxy document not only who you want to make the decisions for you, but also spell out some of the things you do and you don't want. So you can talk to your elderly parents or family members and say, look, this is the way of making sure someday, if someday comes and you need my help, I can help you.
So is a power attorney like a healthcare proxy, or no?
It's a little bit different. The healthcare proxy really only kicks into effect if, in fact, the patient can't communicate decisions or is incompetent to make decisions. A power of attorney can be put together two ways. It can be useful only if the person is incompetent. That's called a springing power of attorney many times. Or it can be in effect at all times so that an adult son or daughter or a spouse could step in and help with the financial aspect of things, the legal aspect of things, even though the person is fine and can make decisions on their own. This is really helpful when you have people who have slipping mental facilities, Alzheimer, early dementia. The question becomes, when are they competent or not competent to sign these documents? You have to be competent.
And how do you know? I mean, what if they say, I am competent, you know, and do you have to actually have the doctor say this person is not competent?
It depends. If, in fact, there's no question, there's no Alzheimer or dementia or anything, you know, no memory problems, then the person certainly is competent, and the notary who observes that signature will witness to that. But if, in fact, it's questionable and there's an early diagnosis, the best thing to do is have the physician, the primary care or treating physician, be one of the witnesses to the person's signature. So that way, there isn't going to be a challenge later on as to whether or not the person was competent. The doctor is the person who would know and is attesting to it.
What do you put in the power of attorney?
The power of attorney really gives somebody else the authority to do everything but create or change your will, or to make those health care decisions. So you would put general language, the attorney would put it in for you, naming all the typical things you can do, like sign bank returns and taxes and those types of things. But there are other very specific things you want to put in there. You want to make sure that the person who's acting as your attorney, in fact, can create or fund a trust. You may need that for estate planning purposes, that they can file for benefits for you, like Medicaid. What if you're not able to do it? You need to give somebody else the authority to step in and to fill out the paperwork you need to make the decisions that are in your best interest.
Okay, and so if people have more information about this, or they want more information about this, what should they do?
They can go right to my website, which is www.ghioldilaw.com. We have a full article all about this topic, so you can really come up with some strategies to approach those elderly relatives and have the conversation you need to do now to make the future a lot easier for everybody.
Thanks a lot, Gina.
Thanks.
A reminder, you can see all of the day's news and streaming video on our website. Just go to NECN.com or the NECN pages of Boston.com, the online home of the Boston Globe.
Now, NECN's Weather on the Wall.